I'm also a graduate student ambassador, as you know.
So I have written multiple blogs. I love writing blogs. You guys to go watch our blogs.
Not watch,
Read.
read.
So this is Quad Talk at Rice University, where we tell you more about graduate life at Rice.
Hiya, I'm Daziyah Sullivan, a 6-year PhD candidate in mechanical engineering. I'm specifically inside of the Mechatronics and Haptics Interface Lab with Dr. Marshall Malley. I grew up in Florida and I went to undergrad at the baddest HBCU in the land, Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University.
And hi, my name is Katie Garcia. I am a fourth-year PhD candidate here at Rice in the Psychological Sciences Department, specifically within the Human Factors and Human-Computer Interaction Research Interest Group. I grew up here in Houston, Texas, and I did my undergrad here at Rice. So I know Rice very well.
So you were like a 4th year, so that means you came in what year?
So I came in 2022. So I'm only a 4th year here at Rice. Technically, I'm in my 6th year overall.
All right.
So I completed let's start. Finished my undergrad in 2020, middle of COVID. Did grad school. I went to Old Dominion University, which is in Norfolk, Virginia. It's like maybe 20 minutes away from Virginia Beach. I feel like that's the most notable spot around Norfolk. But did that, was at ODU for my PhD. But I got to the point where like I finished my master's 2 years in, and then I moved with my advisor here to Rice.
Okay.
So it was nice to basically come back home.
And so when it comes to that, how did it feel when it came to like building up that sense of community, especially when you switched schools? Though technically like it was towards the end of the pandemic, so I guess it would have been a little more feasible, but like how was that transition? Even though you were coming back to the same university, you weren't necessarily coming back to the same people.
Yeah, so at least coming to Rice, well, I'll start with saying for ODU, since I came in like in 2020, COVID and all, I think the first year I did not see anybody. I was just like always in the apartment. My kind of outing was going to the grocery store to like kind of get some human contact. And so that was fun. But then my second year at ODU was pretty good because I got to meet more people within the department and within like my lab. So it was nice to go ahead and build those bonds. And at least for Rice, since it was 2022, COVID was much less of an issue at that time. And it was also nice because I actually came in with a cohort. So at least in ODU, I was the only one in my cohort, the only PhD student within the human factors area. And so psychology is such a broad area of research. So they kind of break it into different research interest groups. So here at Rice, we've got mainly 4, and human factors is one of those. It was similar at ODU as well. And so at least for coming into Rice, I actually had people in my cohort, and it was nice too because like I was in the lab all the time, and so I saw them all the time and kind of developed friendships and bonds with them.
All right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. What's it called? Because I'm interested because I came in 2020.
Yeah.
So I also kind of had that feeling of not necessarily knowing that many people, but I did get connected, luckily, because I just ended up in a lab that has a lot of interconnected people. So a lot of people in my lab have done different leadership roles. Like things that he was like VP of student advocacy or professional development or something for GSA, and different people were of the CTE. Different people were inside of doors, so they were doing different things. And then actually one of the people in lab was also on BGSA's leadership, and so he was able to be like, hey, we have these different things happening. Would you like to come to them? I'll send you the Zoom link because it was on Zoom. So shout out to Jakar. That was great. So that helped me with getting connected, but still I was really just at home or like with one or two people that I had met. But I feel like after probably around 2022 it really expanded in being able to talk to a lot of different people, because it wasn't really until like 2021 that I started to meet people that I even came in to MEC the same year as. I didn't even know some of them. I was like, I've heard your name, I don't know, because the seminar is literally the Zoom seminar, so I don't even know the names of other people who are here. So I feel like the campus, especially when you're able to be walking around the campus, really lends itself to you meeting people if you just go out and are around the areas that generally people are.
Yeah, and I think it's great to like, I very much enjoy having like a work-life balance. And even if like my life part is related to like school still, like volunteering or doing extracurriculars, being part of the GSA, for me that's a lot of fun just to kind of take my mind away from research. And also like we call our lab the dungeon. Because we're on the first floor of Sewell, and that's like the basement, 2 floors under. Yeah. So we just call it the dungeon in as nice a way possible, but it's a good way to get me outside in the sunlight out of the dungeon.
Yes. That's interesting, because I'm like, we're basically at complete opposites, because I'm in the BRC, and so mine is on the 9th floor. And it's a corner. So we have all the views. I have very many plants. And they're living their best lives, better than the ones that are back home. But I'm like, even with that, I still want to be outside the lab. Like, yes, there's views and there's interesting things that happen. Like, there was a random banana car. I just don't ask me. There's just a banana shaped car going down. And one time there was a horse. You see a lot of random things off of Maine.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. So even with that, I'm still like, okay, there's interesting things. There's stuff around BRC, but technically the life of the party is not at BRC. The life of the party is really here on campus. So I still try to come on campus sometimes. I'm also like, yeah, I can go to campus, or I can go to Hammond Park, or I could go home. Or really, like, Rice is just in such a good place in relation to all the things that are interesting to me.
Yeah. You're at the BRC, so is your general day-to-day like you get in, park, go up to the 9th floor, you're there like 9 to 5, and then after you like go home? Is that kinda? Or
I would say, firstly, 9 to 5, crazy. I'm more of a night owl, and also my days are very different. Lately, they kind of felt about the same because I don't have classes anymore. Finally.
nice.
But I definitely do have the BRC parking pass, the most expensive one. Specifically, so I can't just go straight up. But when I get in, I normally get in anywhere from like 10:30 to 1 p.m. And I might have a couple of meetings. I might water a couple plants. I kind of have lunch with my lab mates. We especially like to do Piata Wednesdays. If you ever end up over there on Wednesday, great. $9.74 with tax, I'm telling you.
You get like a whole sandwich and a drink?
So,
Or?
in my mind, Piata is Italian Chipotle.
Okay.
So you can get a whole pasta, or you can get a whole salad, or you eat a whole piata, which is like a burrito, Italian burrito. That, any size you want, drink any size you want, $9.74 if you're a student, and you're a student. So
That's good. Do you have to like flash your IDs like I'm a student?
yeah, that's basically it. And so Wednesdays is all day, every other day, 2 to 5. So sometimes we'll go out and like make that lab trip over for me on a Wednesdays. Or in general, we'll just try to hang out either on the ninth floor lounge or we'll hang out by Hollywood Cafe on the second floor. And so we'll have that time to chit chat and then we'll go back up, sort of be in our own worlds, but not really. So it's even when we're doing this quote unquote 9 to 5, we're still very interactive with one another and everybody's coming and going. A lot of our new students, of course, have classes. Some other people might stop by because there's a couple other people that we know throughout the BRC. And so it's nice, it's social in the ability to be productive, or I'll go to the lounge if I really need to be productive so that no one will talk to me. Then after that, I come home, I have a dog. I feed dog. She gets whopped at some point. I cuddle up with dog, but I might go out to eat, or I'll stay home and eat, or I'll go hang out with friends is like a normal thing. Like I'm at least going to have one conversation with an external person throughout the day is my goal.
For my lab, so I am like a 9 to 5 person. I don't know if I'm more of a morning person, but I know I'm most productive in the morning. Because then after a certain time, I get tired. I want to go to bed. I don't know. I've got my evening routine of just like usually 5:30 go to some sort of gym workout class, and then after that, food, home, shower, sleep, TV, whatnot. Usually, maybe in a different order, but yeah. But I was wondering for your lab, how large is your lab? Because I know labs just differ in sizes so much.
They definitely do. Currently, this is like a quote unquote medium size for our lab. When I first got here, I feel like there was at least 15 people. The lowest amount was like 6 people, and right now we're at 10, including 2 postdocs.
Okay. So you have postdocs. For my lab, we have 4 people, PhD students. Do you have master students in your lab as well, or?
Sometimes. Not currently.
Okay. Yeah. Sometimes we do have master students in our lab, but they're the professional masters. We've got a professional master's program, and they're not required to do research, but some of them are really interested in doing research. And a lot of them from this last year, they went on to grad school.
Okay.
So they went on for a PhD after finishing their professional master's. So that was nice to see to them.
Right, because like I think technically one of our PhDs indeed started as a professional master's, but she was in the space science. And it was interesting because she always is kind of like, yeah, you've been here longer than me. And I'm like, I have like one more semester than you, because technically the first semester that I started is also the first semester that she was with us. So she had to do like a work study-ishly type of thing where she had to work either with like a company or a lab, and so she worked with our lab, and I'm like, we started at the same time. Then you finished up that spring, and then you came back to us in fall, so therefore we're only a semester apart. I don't know what you're talking about. Lizzie's great. We love Leanne. But yeah, no, it's interesting how labs change throughout time frames as well, so we can possibly touch on that. So for me, I'm like quote unquote the most senior right now, so I've been with the lab the longest, so I still count Leanne. And so I've seen us change drastically over time. So we had like a very large amount of people, especially because we had a couple of masters in at the same time that I came in. So I came in with one other PhD student and one other master student, and one of those PhDs actually decided to master's out. And so that was also an adjustment. But since we came in during the pandemic, we try to go over to like Menil Park, so next to Menil, that's collection, and we could be kind of spread out but still interacting. So we do that like once a month or so. We've also done rock climbing together. They've done Pickleball. There we go. That's that thing. So we've tried to have these things, and we have like potlucks, we have Christmas parties, and it's things of this nature where it's like sometimes it's really harped on that we really try to build this lab culture, and other times it's almost like self-sustaining, so our advisor doesn't necessarily put input into it. But I feel like at those times not everybody necessarily gets that same socialization, but I feel like since we started off with such a strong socialization, that it also just helps people with forming their other connections and doing these other things. Like there's a fantasy football league that they're doing. I'm not part of that. One of the first punishments for losing it
Got punished,
right, was Alex. She lost, and apparently she did stand-up comedy for it. And I was so mad that I missed it. I was in the Bahamas. I'm like, I'm glad I'm in the Bahamas.
Yeah, at least you're in
but
the Bahamas to miss it.
why did y'all not record this for me? I wanted to see
Send you
it.
a Zoom link?
Exactly. And so people have formed these other connections, and I think that that's interesting. So the social aspects have formed and changed, and sometimes it's kind of centered on our advisor to make sure it happens, and sometimes the lab has taken its own viewpoint, but also the research has changed as well. And that's always interesting, being like, yeah, this is a project that's always going to be in the lab, and then like a couple of people leave, and it's like, that's done. Nobody really wants to work on that anymore. Doesn't even necessarily have funding for it anymore. We're going to work on something completely different. But it all still stands inside of this idea of haptics and mechatronics. And so that's always interesting.
I'm in Dr. Jing Chen's lab. We're fairly new to Rice because we came over in 2022. We've got four PhD students now. Originally, I was just the only one, so my first year was just me. And then we added one more person the next year in 2023. And then 2024, we added 2 more students. And so right now, I know your lab has 10 people. I think that's crazy because at least 4 is a lot for us. Because I think maybe the sweet zone is between 2 and 3, at least for our department. It seems what it's normal, a normal amount, I guess. For average. But one of our students, Ashley, she might know some students in your lab because she does a lot of haptic stuff. But our lab is the Human Automation Collaboration Lab, so it's the HAC lab, HAC.
I love it.
We do a lot of stuff with how people understand automation or interact with automation, such as automated vehicles. So we do a lot of transportation stuff. We do stuff within the cybersecurity realm. So I've done some phishing projects and how people understand their privacy on social media. I do some stuff with how people understand AI, specifically within automated vehicles. And then we also have some other projects with unmanned aerial vehicles, so drones. And then we have some haptic stuff. We do some vigilance stuff, so sustained attention over time. And then we also do some stuff with cost-benefit trade-off. So within our lab, we've got a lot of different areas. And so I think when I graduate, maybe some of my projects might stop based on just availability of students, and everyone else is busy on their own projects. And I feel like a lot of our projects don't overlap a whole lot. Maybe a little bit.
Almost what is the collaboration within your lab almost feel like?
Yeah. So the most recent thing we've collaborated on is a book chapter about how AI is used within cybersecurity. So just the big realm of cybersecurity. I was actually working on some proofs for that and edits for that today. But I think that's our main collaboration together within the lab. We do a lot of departmental collaborations. So Jing is part of the Ken Kennedy Institute, so we collaborate with some computer scientists for AI things. I think we have another collaborator. I don't know which department he's in, but stuff about floods, because I've done research about like, oh, how do people understand perceived risk of floods and driving through floods, and that's especially a topic for Houston.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting because I'm like, I think what I appreciate about a larger lab, so technically, you even thinking that mine's is large in the scope of our mechanical engineering department. But I feel like, what is it, MISNY, where they're like 50 people or something? I don't know. Somebody has like 50 people in labs, and that's crazy to me.
I don't know how they had that lab space. Like, we just have like one room for our offices, and we've got like kind of these half dividers, and to divide like how many desks we have? We have 5 desks all in like this one big room, and then we have these little dividers in between our desks, and it's like that's our office space. It's our shared office space.
Right, because I'm like, it's also so interesting whenever you get to go around to other people's spaces. Sometimes they're like, y'all interact in completely different ways than we do. Because I feel like ours is almost set up like partial cubicles. So it's like, it meets like this, essentially.
Okay.
So this side technically could block me from seeing the other person, but it's only really like a storage space. And it's the same length as my table. So therefore, I can still technically see my partner directly.
Yeah.
And I can look over the cute little divider between me and the person before me. So it almost looks like a cross because we have like sections of 4 people. So 4, 4, 4.
Okay.
Officially. So there's like 12 desk spaces in that setup. It's how mine is. And then we also have an extra place for soldering. So we have a good amount of space, which is especially helpful because currently we have another lab inside of our lab from a new professor, Kaya, and she's working with robots. So therefore she needs space for robots. They don't really got robots. We got robot-esque things. But it's like interesting because I feel like when you get larger, the bigger and bigger you get, the more likely you are to have that intercollaboration type of thing, which I really appreciate, even though I technically didn't have it. But I'm like, when I looked at other people, I was like, your work is with these other people. Like, you are taking a completely different spin. Like, you're getting that PhD for a reason. You're going to focus on a completely different area of it than this other person. But it's nice that people can like collaborate and then be like, okay, and then from here, now I can do my own things. Like, let's build this together. I'm going to test this aspect of it. You're going to test this aspect of it. Is really interesting to see. It's not necessarily as applicable for like my part, though now with one of our newer postdocs, I'm saying newer postdocs. So you have 2 postdocs. They're the same. They came in basically the same time. This is like they're about their 3rd year or so with us now. So great having them. But Elise, when she came in, she has a lot of psychophysics background, and so that was very applicable for mine. So psychophysics is essentially that study of physical stimuli and how we're perceiving it. Which is important when it comes to touch, because can you even feel what I'm giving you? It's just like one of those things that you think about. And she also has some interest in the emotion field, which is what I specifically work on. And so now I'm like, yay, I have a co-author now. Like, there's someone else who knows what I'm talking about, who knows more of these things, and I can see how that can really push forward the ability for people to get things done, because it's like, I'm not the only one working on it, someone else is working on it, but also it could potentially like hold them back sometimes, so it's like, where's your part? So I like get to see the good and the bad, which is really nice and interesting, and I feel like it's easier when it's like within a lab to see it, because we have a lot of collaborations, like especially with the Texas Medical Center. We're right there, so we have a lot of collaborations over there, but it's always interesting when I'm seeing people in real life talking about their collaborations versus like when I first got here, one of my friends was in a lab that was smaller, so it was about like 4 people, I believe, at the time, and she was like, each and every one of us do completely different things. I cannot ask this other person for help.
Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of the way our lab is now. There's like, we have so many different aspects we're all doing. It's like, I don't do drones, I don't do haptics. I kind of overlap a little bit with one of the newer students, so maybe, I mean, I'm in my last year, so we won't collaborate, but like, if I was here longer, maybe. But at least topic-wise, there are some overlaps. It's always nice having co-authors because then it's like, okay, I've done my part, here, do your part. And then it's like, okay, one thing I don't have to do for a while, and it's like, okay.
And it's also like something that's interesting about it is one of the things that Elise she did a conference paper for Euro haptics last year. And I was like, what if we just add a little spin? So just add this little teeny tiny spin. And so then I became a co-author. And part of it was that she was like, literally, if you weren't cheering me on, I just would have gave up. I would not have tried to hit this deadline for World Haptics. She was like, a lot of things are breaking. I'd rather just push out the timeline. I was like, you can. I'm always letting you take care of your well-being. But she's like, but if you run the experiments, if you write up things and put words into this paper already, we might be able to do this. So it's nice also, I feel like, for well-being at times, especially if your co-author is not just a peer but also a friend, where you could be like, I could take this load off for you. And whatever is getting too difficult, you already automatically have this this like partnership with this person to make sure that they're picking up where you're lacking and actually able to keep going forward.
Yeah, and it's nice to have someone like you can rely on, and especially not like, we've had co-authors that are like at other universities and like they're nice and all, but like we don't see them, you know, just not face to face. So I don't know them as well as like, let's say like people in my lab who are other co-authors. And it's like, yeah, if you can take this section, I can do this section, but I won't get it to you until like 2 weeks because my schedule's busy. And they'll actually understand, which is nice to like have someone who understands, like, don't worry, I know your schedule's crazy. I've got this part, take your time. So that's, the understanding is good.
So what are some of the different positions that you have?
Yeah, so I've had a lot over my time. I guess I'll start smaller scope and go bigger scope. So at least within psychology, within our human factors rig, we have the Rice Human Factors and Ergonomics student chapter. It's a lot of words. HFES, we abbreviate it down to HFES. So one of our big conferences for the year is HFES, and they've got a lot of different student chapters, so Rice has a student chapter. Previously at my past institution at ODU, I was the president of the ODU HFES chapter in my second year. Coming in here during my first year, they had already all done elections, so my first year here at Rice didn't hold any positions. But then my second year, I was the president of the Rice HFES here, and so that was really nice because I got to like organize events for just the graduate students in human factors. We planned a trip to NASA because a lot of our alumni go into like working at NASA or working for a company that has contracts with NASA, such as KBR, or yeah, mainly KBR that I can think of. So that was really fun. It was a way for me to get my head out of research, and also I liked doing that service aspect at ODU, that it was nice to get out and meet people, especially back then during the pandemic. It was very limited the first year in like 2020. So it was a good way to keep connected with those within the rig of human factors and also share knowledge of HF to others. So there was that. We have our psychological sciences GSA, so that's our departmental GSA. I think I took on a position during my second second year as well as the social chair. And I've held that position for 3 years, so I'm in my third year as social chair, yeah. So that one's nice just because I plan social events. And so I really found that I enjoy planning things. I'm good at planning things, like small scale events to bigger scale events, and that kind of leads me into GSA. So right now I am the VP of Community Engagement for GSA, and that pretty much means I plan a lot of the big social events we have on campus, such as orientation picnic, upcoming Fall Halloween.
I was like, is it included for Halloween?
Fall Halloween, and eventually Beer Bike, which I think Fall Halloween and Beer Bike are for sure the two biggest ones because we've got like a week-long thing of events leading up to the big day. And so for that, I plan both big events and also smaller events. So we're really working on trying to, with our current committees, we're trying to get more community outreach and do more volunteering. So hopefully we'll see that in the future. And we've also got smaller events coming up, like we've got a pool parties coming up. And then also we always go to the Renaissance Festival. We provide tickets for whoever's interested, because that's a fun thing to do in Houston. And hopefully the weather is good, fingers crossed. That way you're like walking out in like fields and hopefully it's dry and cool and good to just go see some jousting and events like that. How about you, service-wise?
Also done so many positions over my time frame. When I first came, of course, it was the pandemic, so I didn't necessarily have that ability to get connected. But I did somehow end up as the Auschwitz chair, I believe was my title for Black Graduate Student Association. Thanks to Dr. Danny Purdue. I was like, I want to be involved. And she was like, we have a little secret position. It's not necessarily a secret position, but nobody really talks about it. It should be open. Let me connect you to the president and the vice president. So that happened near the end of that time frame. So it was probably around February that I got connected with that. And then since they saw that I was interested, they were like, would you want to be vice president next year? And I was like, oh, yes. So I also served as vice president for BGSA. Then I took a year off, and then I was the GSA representative. And now I've taken another quote unquote year off. But even in these years off, I'm still being connected and assisting in whatever way I can. So like I started the personal finance workshops that we either do in collaboration with LabXRAS or LAXA. And I also did a well-being talk, I believe is what I called it, that first year when I was a vice president. And essentially I had some people come in from the well-being office to kind of like give some information, but also just to be there in case any emotions get a little too high, essentially. But we just talked about different things around well-being, what it means inside of the Black community, specifically people's experience with it. And then we also had a couple of like little slips of paper that were like, here's a word that might influence you to say something, like therapy. What are your thoughts? Essentially. And so we had it in like even smaller groups at that point. And so people were able to express their conversations, like their thoughts and their associations with it, and break it down even further. And we gave out some stress toys and things of that nature. So well-being has always been really important to me. My research is on well-being. And then my one role that I had with the GSA was as well-being director in my second year as well. And so always been on that. I'm also a graduate student ambassador, as you know. And from that, it's been very nice to be able to like help out with all of these different initiatives, specifically to get people interested in graduate school, to help them with getting into graduate school, and then with their process of being inside of graduate school. So I have written
multiple blogs. I love writing vlogs. You got to go watch our blogs.
Not watch.
Read.
Read. So yeah, read our blog. Um, so it's nice to be able to say things in your own words. And I've done things about well-being, of course, so like knowing your well-being resources, and even with me saying well-being, I'm sure that many people are thinking, oh, you're talking about mental health, let me log out. Or some people are like, let me perk up. But even when it comes to that, your well-being is also about like being content in like any space possible, essentially. So it can be inside of your emotional and mental well-being. It can be in referral to like finances. It can be in relations to occupational well-being, because you are essentially like an employee when you're a graduate student, especially if you're a PhD student. And then it's also in relation to your physical well-being. So I wrote a blog about all those different aspects that you might want to think about looking into the resources that are available at whatever university you end up with. And I specifically shouted out Rice's because I'm here at Rice. But I feel like this is one of the ones that I appreciated being the part of the most. Like, I've held this position the longest. I really enjoyed being a graduate student ambassador. I got into it from a random email.
Same.
So yeah, no, it was definitely just a random email, and I was like, Dr. O'Malley, can I do it?
Oh.
She was like, go for it. So that was a great, someone put me forth, and the rest has been history.
Yeah, I also got in through like a random email, and I inquired like, how did you get my information? It's like, this doesn't seem like a fish or a spam or anything. It's like, but I was recommended. It's like, okay, cool.
Right.
And like, it's great because I have like both the undergrad and graduate student experience at Rice. So like, at least my first year coming into Rice, I knew it would be like first year coming in as a grad student, I knew it'd be different than undergrad, because like undergrad you got your residential colleges, Baker, hell yeah, that was my college. And I know grad students, like, it's different. Like, we've got GSA, we've got a different type of culture than a lot of the undergrad residential colleges. And so I found it really fun just kind of exploring what we have as grad students, like, and a lot of that was the events. And that's kind of what drew me to like becoming like eventually, like, I first started out as like a director, a programming director under the VP of community engagement, and that's kind of how I got involved with the GSA. And so that was really fun, just seeing.
That's a rabbit.
That is a rabbit.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. And so that's how I got involved with the GSA, is just being a director and then eventually going into a VP role. And for me, I think for my best self and well-being, I need a balance, and that is like research and something social. Over the summer, I was part of a dissertation writing camp for the social sciences. It was held by the CAPC, and they brought in a person from the Wellbeing Center. And one of the things that stuck with me from her slides, her spiel, was it's okay to say no. And no is a complete sentence.
Yep.
And so it's like, as grad students, it is weird because we are employees, but we're also students, but we're also just people. So we have to do this very delicate balance where we've got a lot on our plate, and we got to figure out where that balance is. And eventually, at some point, you do have to say no, I think, which, unfortunate for our advisors, they always want us to say, yes, I will do another project. Yes, I will write that extra paper. It's like, but they understand, because they were grad students too.
Exactly.
And then also, I think another part that stuck with me is like, what is your hobby? Like, what is a hobby? And a hobby is something outside of, well, it could be research if you want it to be, but it's something you do for yourself. And so for me, I like to organize events, and that's what I do for myself because I know what I like in events, and hopefully what I like is what other people like as well. I get feedback, so it's balanced. But yeah, I think hobbies, and it's good to say no.
All right, so this has been our Quad Talks. Thank you for listening. You know, if you are interested in learning any more information, especially potentially connecting with us or reading some of our blogs, you can go to the link in the description below.
Yeah, and in addition to that, I'd say check out just all of the Rice University websites and see what resources we have to offer grad students, because there's a lot out there. You just have to, it's important to know them.
Go
Owls!